Outfielders, make sure you back up. You can always run in.
Anything close now, Aaliyah. Got to hit it.
Ready, ladies.
Give it a ride, kid.
Batting next is number 8, Keene.
Let's go, Tegan! Now you seen it. You're going to have to swing quick for those, T.
Billy, you back up the throws a second.
Got to hit those, T. Now you seen it. Good eye, good eye.
Not a bad place to miss, Tommy. Not a bad place to miss.
That's good.
Be ready. T, you got to swing at him, kid. Can't hit the ones you don't swing at.
Hartman.
Run up.
Girls, they're good pitches. You got to swing.
Stop right there, Sophia. Here.
Batting next is number 10, Brinley.
Give it a ride, Bryn.
Even space, 1 or 2.
Good swing, good swing. Got to swing a little early for it.
now, 2-7 locked in now, huh? Make it effortless.
Now you seen it. Give it a ride, kid. Run it out, run it out, run it out.
Galen. Galen. This time you grab that fair. Yeah.
There you go. There you go, Brindley.
Good, Charlie.
Good cut, kid. Good eye, good eye. She get a little piece of that? She got a piece of it.
Run it out, Ayla. Make contact, drop and run.
Good job, Ayla.
Ayla's gonna fall. Way too high. Leave him up there. Right, 2.
There you go, Brindley. Pitcher, quickly, pitcher. Pitcher, quickly. All right, they can only do one.
The next player is number 27, King Carly Weir.
You ready, outfield? There you go, Aaliyah. Good idea.
Batting next for the Terriers, it's number 24, Jordan Big Gun Goodell.
Jordan, get your focal point right. You got this.
That's weird. I have a different one than you. So, hit the game.
Tag first, tag her.
Way to drop and run.
First base.
Good job, Jordan.
It's number 21, Caitlin Knuckles Tucker.
Second base, second base, second base. No, pitcher, pitcher, pitcher. Good job, Brindley. Nice catch, kid.
That was a hard one. Nice catch.
It's number 3, Brenna the Beast Podwin.
Look up, Brown. Look up. Step back football.
Let me see you handle.
You don't want to take it off. You don't have to run either. Not for it. All right, brother. All right. Go, Riley. Now you run on anything. Well.
Make some noise for number 0, Riley T-Rex Applegate.
Watch the throwback, Jordan. Two.
Good cut, Adela. Good swing. Start a little bit earlier.
Positions. All right, kiddo. Got one more on you. That's outside, kid. Good start. Good.
Good eye, Adela.
Batting next is number 5, Anna.
Here we go, Aria.
Aria.
There you go, kid. Run it out. Run it out. Good cut, Aria. Good swing, kid.
Bailey, be ready. Off your way. Get it, Jalen. Don't let it go past you. Get it. Hustle to it.
Go, 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 go.
Get it, get it, get it, get it, get it. Nice try, Sophia.
Now, Aria, be watching for an overthrow.
Batting
Get ready
next
to
is
go.
number 13, Lily.
Sophia, come to you. Go to second.
Nice hit, Aria. Nice hit, kid.
Chloe, same thing. Come to you. Go to second. Go attack the runner.
Now, if it's in the air, make sure you hold up.
Nice.
Now you seen it? There you go, Lily. Start that swing a little sooner.
Just outside. Get just outside. Side of that face of it. Turn up 2-7. Lock in. Lock in like you know how.
Said you won't walk me home. Huh? Said you won't walk me home.
Be ready, Lily.
Come on, Carly. Lock in here. Time. Just go.
Number 7, Avery.
Know what to do, ladies.
It's not my fault. This is Kaya, folks.
Come on, Carly. Lock in. Nice.
Now you seen it, Kaya. Good swing, good swing.
Short and third. There's a big gap between you guys. You gotta knock it down. Big gap there.
Oh, got to swing at those, kid. That's a good one.
Mildly confident. This is number 7, Avery.
Got to swing quick, Avery. You're running on everything, girls. 2 outs. Run on everything. Good swing. Good swing. Make sure it's a good one. You're not swinging over your head. No, don't swing over your head, kid. It's got to be in your zone.
Go, BF. Nobody better right here, G7. Nobody better right now, Carly. Lock it in.
Hey, good swing. Way to go down swinging, kid. Good job.
2 out, 2 out, 2 out. Close his space, ladies. Close his space, all right? All you got to do is field and tag it.
Here you go, Leah. Now you're running on everything. Now there's 2 outs. Now you're seeing it, Aaliyah. Good eye, good eye. Running on everything, girls. Here you go, Leah. Give it a ride, kid. Good eye, good eye. Got to be a good one now. Good swing, good swing. Good job, Aaliyah. Just swing a little bit sooner, Aaliyah, if you're going for it. Confidence is key. Give it a ride, kid. Good eye, good eye. There you go, Tegan. Now you've seen it. They're coming in hot, kid. You got to swing fast.
Right around you, Carly.
Those are good pitches, T. You got to hit them, kid. Don't be afraid to swing.
Nice job.
Oh. What happened? Did the third base runner step off? What happened?
Third base was leading.
Oh, they did. I didn't even see it.
Kelly with the C. Up, slowly on deck, keep your feet in the hole.
Did it happen there?
Leading off for the Terriers, it's number 29, Keene, the eliminator, Edwards.
Umpire. Move. Move. I think they need another outfielder. Yep. Big hitter, Kaylee. Big hitter.
Nice pitch. Nice pitch.
Nice see you, Kaylee, huh? Come on, you got this. Have fun. Having fun.
Next is for number 6, Chloe, the Terminator, Tuesday.
All jewelry's off. Kayla. Chloe. That's what you want right there. Good catch. Swing hard on it, all right?
Now, Harmon, you can take your time throwing it back. Wait till you get to home plate. Take your time. There you go. There you go, Aaliyah.
It's like bad practice, all right? Come on,
There you go, Aaliyah. Good work, kid.
It's number 2, Savage Sophia Stewart.
Good pitch, Aaliyah. It's all right, Aaliyah. That was pretty close.
It's number 19, Jalen Ice Cold Cruz.
Nice pitch. Good job, Aaliyah. No, no, no. No.
Damn it, someone's on third now. Get out of the box. Do it. Get out of the box more. Jump in, come back.
Second base, throw to second, Oh my God, no, throw it out at second. Well, no, I guess that was right.
I got it.
I gotta just be quiet.
Good swing. Good swing.
It's number 18, Lightning Lily Justice.
Plays at first and second now, Green.
good eye, 18.
There you go, Leah. Nice pitch, kid.
Slide a little earlier and swing hard.
One out, please, at second and
Nice pitch. Good pitch, Aaliyah.
Lily, get on it a little bit quicker. Go.
we can't talk that way.
It's number 1, Kaylee, the Wildcat, right.
Come on, Kaylee! Let's go, Kaylee!
Any base now, Green.
Kaylee, remember, hold that bat back. Step out of the box. You hold that bat.
Any base, even home.
Step out. Swing. Foul. Foul. Foul ball.
Good backup, Adela.
Run it, Kaylee, run!
Good hustle, good hustle. Good job, Brindley. Good hustle.
Swing.
Get that. Tag home. Just tag the base. Good job, Harman.
It's number 23, Morgan, the Maniac, Wiggins.
Same thing, Green. Any base.
Morgan, stay out of the box until she's back in the circle, all right?
Come on, Morgan!
Go, big swing. Run it!
Catch that. It's all right. That's 3. Good job. Good job, Aaliyah.
McKenna on the mound!
Hit your green walk.
Hey, lefty, Jordan.
Here we go, lucky lefty.
Shift. Haley, be ready.
There you go. Now you seen it.
Ready positions in field. Run up. In position.
Here we go, Harvard.
Nice.
Got it.
Got the ball. Get ready.
Got to protect now, Harmon. Anything close.
Jordan, get ready.
Go, Harmon. You got this, kid. Give it a ride. Hey, good way to swing, kid. Good swing. Here we go, Brindley.
Sorry, Kenny. Nobody better, McKenna. Nobody better right now.
It's okay, McKenna.
Be ready, Brindley. Good one coming.
Riley. Lily.
Good eye. Good eye.
Come on, McKenna.
Way to be patient, Brindley. Good job.
Runner comes to you. Tag the runner. You go to second. Know what to do, ladies. Mia plays that too.
Here we go, Della. Give it a ride, kid.
Give the catcher.
There you go. Now you seen it. Give it a ride. Way to wear it.
Hey, cover, Lily. Cover the backup throws, all right? You ready?
Be patient, kid. Wait till he gets to you. Good eye.
Get it, take your time. You got this, you got it. You and Ayla right now, you and Ayla. Nobody else matters, nobody else counts.
Run, 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 hard, 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 hard. Run it through, run it through.
Hey, pitcher. Just hold it.
Hey, good job, good job.
How's that first? Jordan, make sure you're ready over there. Lays that first.
Here we go, Lily. Give it a ride, kid. All right. These ones are a little bit slower. Wait for it to get to you. Good eye, good eye.
You got this now, huh? That's easy.
Yeah, that was a good pitch. Gotta hit the good ones, kid.
Locked in now, McKenna, huh? That's how you do it, number 9.
There you go, run, 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 hard, 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 hard.
Back in the circle.
Good job, good job.
Ease this out.
Hey, great job. Good job, Avery. Nice hit, kid.
Pick it off, PF. Here we go. One more out.
Good swing, good swing. Be ready, Kaya. Be ready, Avery. Be ready. Be ready. You're leading now until the pitcher gets the ball. Two strikes now, Aaliyah. Anything close, you got to hit it. Just got to make contact. There you go. Good swing, good swing. Way to battle, kid.
Go 9. You got this now.
Here you go, Aaliyah. Give it a ride, kid. Oh, got to swing, got to swing. Now, Leah, you should have a ball. There you go. You should throw grounders to your infielder and then you fire it back to you in the air.
Number 5, Laura, the Grim Reaper, Greenleaf.
Good pitch, Brindley. Good work, kid.
Shoreline, leveling out. Keep down, right? Got this.
Good job, Brindley.
It's number 9, McKenna, the Audacity, Applegate.
Hey, good play. Good play, Green. Good job, girls.
Good eye, Ayla. Good eye.
Be ready for that now in the field. Be ready for it. There you go, Brindley. Good pitch, kid.
It's a good one, Ayla. Jordan on deck. Caitlin in the hole. Go, Carly.
When will you be done, child?
Just like last time, kids.
Hey, good hustle, Leah. Good idea. Good job, Aria. Way to be there.
Hurry up, Ayla! Hurry up! Go, Jordan. Right in the hole. Not you, Joe. Not you, Jordan. Just like practice, though, huh? Just like practice. Carly. Stay up, stay up, stay up, stay up.
Hey, good hustle, Tegan. Good try, kid.
Riley on deck. Kaylee can see in the hole. Go, go.
There you go, Brindley.
Get eye on the ball when you swing, okay? You got this, Brenna.
Go, Brenna!
Okay, we go!
Good try, Tegan. Good try.
Get you out. Roll it in the hole.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Riley, too late. Let's get on it earlier.
You're pitching well, Brindley.
Riley, you're still about a half a second behind it, okay? You got this. Here we go. Put it back. block and run. Block and run. Okay? A bit earlier.
Oh my God, you're done already. I'm so happy. I can hear your arm.
Nobody better right here, Ryan. Nobody better. Oh, you got this.
Rat of a sister. Rat.
Right, Riley. Get in there. Riley, a little earlier. Half a second.
Down and ready, Green. There you go, Brindley. Good job, kid.
Jenna, back in the mound. Anna behind the plate. Jordan, back at first base.
Battle back now, Green. Let's go.
Third, Harley, shortstop. Left field, Norline. Left center, Chloe.
Here we go, Tegan. Let's get a hit now, kid.
Chloe, back up.
Good eye, good eye.
What's your age then? What's your age? You're 34, guys. You're already. I'm going to chop.
Good eye.
That is
That's the one right there, kid. Give it a ride. Good eye, good eye.
Hey, and Jake, you're both dead.
All right, T. Way to get on base, kid. You thinking about second? You're ready. Oh, you're ready now.
What does it look like I'm trying to do? Underneath the right, you dummy.
There you go, Tegan. That's the stuff right there, kid. Good job.
You want a child? No, do you want a child with this child?
There you go. You're ready. You're ready.
Some people miss no, leave me alone.
Ooh, okay. Okay. Good swing. Good swing.
Two more, just like that.
Good job, Tegan. Way to be ready, kid. Here you go, Hartman. Give it a ride. You ready, T? You're ready. You're ready. Good job, Tegan. Here you go, Hartman. Give it a ride. Good hit. Good hit. Go, go, go.
Let's try, Caitlin.
That's all right. Way to run it out.
Go, Kenny.
That's the way. That's the way.
Caitlin, be ready.
Hey, way to battle. Good job, Hartman. Looking good, T. Now, if it's in the air, T, you know you got to wait, right? Be ready, be ready. Stay, Tegan. Hey, T, you want to stay out on your lead until the pitcher gets the ball, right? Because if it goes by her, that's when you go. Good hit, good hit. Good job, Hartman.
Caitlin, there's two going your way, right? You ready? Nice backup, Lorelai.
Good running, T. You swing just a little bit sooner, Hartman, you'll get it. There you go. Good hustle, Tegan. Good job, Hartman. Way to battle, kid. Good at bat. Good hustle, T.
Charlie, you sliding number third on that next, all right?
Are there any outs?
There's 2 outs.
No, there can't be two. Are there any outs?
Come on, be out. Our play here.
I think there's one out.
Run it, get ready.
Not sure. Hustle, hustle, hustle.
Back to the pitcher. Nice
Good hustle, Tegan. Nothing you could have done about that.
Come on, Charlie.
Now there's one.
She's got the ball, ladies. Get ready. Nice pitch.
Good swing, good swing.
Get in control. You got this.
Here you go, Della. Give it a ride, kid. Good eye, good eye.
Just inside. No worries, no worries.
I'll be there. No, before Mom freaks out, I get in trouble. Now.
Good, McKenna.
You ready, Aria? Or Hartman. Be ready, Hartman.
Take a breath, McKenna. You're good. You're fine. Nice and easy, huh? You and Ayla. That's all it is.
Good job.
Great catch now.
Good swing.
There it is.
Good swing. Get there just a little bit sooner, Adela.
Good job, McKenna. Settle in now.
Good eye, good eye.
All right, Ayla.
Here we go, Aria. Give it a ride, kid. Good swing. That was a good swing, kid. Keep your eye on the ball. You'll hit it. Good eye, good eye.
Okay, McKenna. Breath now, McKenna. You're fine. You're good, McKenna. You're good.
Good eye. All right, Aria, now you ready? Anything close now, you got to hit it. Good swing. Anything close now. Oh, good swing, good swing.
Great hit, Ty. Great hit. Little time. Good field, bring it in.
Good eye.
He's scared
Nice, good. There it is, 9.
Now you've seen it, Lily. Give it a ride, kid. There you go. Hustle, hustle, hustle.
Nice job. not important right now. That is not important right now. Sophia, that is not important right now. Kaylee, we hit the baseball, that's Mike. Softball.
Here we go, Leah. Nice pitch. Good job, Aaliyah.
What you want right there. Hard.
Here you go, Leah. Nice and easy, kid. Right down the middle.
Good eye, Chloe, good eye.
I don't know what I was doing. I was going to cover it and I was trying to run back. The dirt back.
You ready on second? There you go, Leah. Nice pitch.
Exactly what you want, all right? You saw it now. Hard swing on it, kiddo.
There you go, Leah.
A little bit earlier, okay? Here we go.
You step on her head, I'll step on yours, and it will be good.
Nice pitch. Good job, Aaliyah.
Nothing, I was sitting with the lion.
Yeah. Out of box,
Beat my ass, like.
Harmon, don't throw it till you get to home plate. You got to run around third.
Yeah, watch third. Run around third, that's why you gotta get out. Get on base. Hey, listen to the coach, okay? He's gonna take you the right direction.
Here we go, Leah. Nice pitch, Leah. Watch home, watch home.
There you go. Nice, Sophia. Now you got to order in front of you.
Plays it first now, Green. Be ready. Plays it first.
Okay, this is what they said. They keep bringing it to the woods because they want to catch it. I was like, that's not happening.
Nice pitch, Aaliyah.
Down swinging. Lily.
Plays it first, Green. Good grab. Good job, catcher.
Sit down.
Here you go, Aaliyah. Nice and easy, kid. Right down the middle. Any base now, Green, even home. Any base.
Straighten it out.
Good hustle, Tegan. Next time, dive for it. There you go. Way to close out. That's it. Good job.
Carly on the mound. Riley catch.
Good pitcher, Green. Watch it.
Like, is that? Oh, she was making. So that. Oh, that's the one that's Jeff.
Hey, good swing. Good swing. Just start a little bit sooner. You'll get it. There you go. There you go. It's all right. Those are good swings, Kaya. Keep your eye on the ball. You'll get it. Just got to make contact. There you go. There you go. Way to battle, Kaya. You're a hitter. Oh, good swing. Good swing. Hey, good at bat, kid. That's the way to do it, though. Hey, good pitching, kid. Here we go, Brindley. Now you ready? Give it a ride, kid. Good eye. Good eye. You don't got to kill it, kid. Just make contact. Ooh. All right. All right.
Which one are you going to do, though? Which one are you going to play?
Ready, infield. Outfield. Knock it down.
Good swing. That was a good swing, kid.
You guys should pitch baseball.
It's all right, Avery. Good work, kid. Here we go, Leah. All right, now you've seen it. Give it a ride, kid. Good eye, good eye. That was a pretty good pitch, though. There you go, Aaliyah. Give him a ride, kid. All right, Aaliyah. Good eye. Good eye. Way to get on base, kid. Here we go, T. Good.
Come on, ladies. Where's the second?
They're coming in hot now. Give it a ride. Got to be quick. There it is. Now you've seen it. Got to get that bat around. Good eye. Good eye. Let's go, T. Confidence is key. Give it a ride, kid. Got to protect now. 2 strikes. Anything close, you got to hit it. Good eye. Good eye. Got to protect. Anything close. you go, Brindley. Nice throw. Here you go, Brindley. Good pitch, kid.
That was right. Used to be. Get better shoes from the coach.
Here, Morgan, here we go.
I just wanted to
Nice pitch. Good job, Brindley. Nice pitching, kid.
All right, Lorelai.
Don't think of anything.
You're in the hole. Go, Lorelai.
You got this. Figure it out. Go,
Pull it out. You don't want to swing down ever, right? That low, leave it there.
There you go, Brindley. Good pitching, kid. Be ready, outfield. Plays it first. Be ready, infield. Plays it first.
My grandpa has
Oh, nice catch, Brindley! Good work, kid. Way to close it out.
What can you do about that, right? Hey,
Here we go, Harman. Give it a poke, kid. Now you've seen it. Got to be aggressive now. Just got to make contact. Two strikes, got to protect now. Anything close, you got to hit it. Good eye.
Carly.
Alex. You want to listen to her?
Got to swing that back, kid. Come on. Here you go, Brindley. Show him how. Good eye. Good eye. There you go. Get there, get there, get there. Hustle. You're good, you're good, you're good. Good hustle. Good job, Brindley. Way to run it out, kid.
Hey. Stay with me. We want to see.
Here we go, Adela. Give it a ride, kid. Good swing, good swing. Be ready, Brindley. Be ready. Be ready, Brindley. Here we go, Della. Now you've seen it. Two strikes now. Got to protect. Anything close, got to hit it. Here we go, Harman. Give it a ride, kid. Good swing. Good swing. That's the way. Back up toward the catcher a little bit. Toward the catcher a little bit. Good swing. Good swing. Maybe start your swing just a little bit sooner. You got this, kid. There you go! Oh, nice catch. Nice catch. Hey, good hit, Hartman. Good hit, kid. Hey, great pitching, kid.
Hey, look. No, we don't, right?
Some four. That was a good game.
Shopify helps you sell at every stage of your business. Like that, let's put it online and see what happens stage.
And the site is live.
That we opened a store and need a fast checkout stage.
Thanks. You're all set.
That count it up and ship it around the globe stage.
This one's going to Thailand.
And that, wait, did we just hit 1 million orders stage? Whatever your stage, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/YouTube audio.
In recent years, horror has had a colossal surge, not just in quality, but in popularity. At one time, the genre was dismissed and ridiculed by the masses, but nowadays, films like It, Cabin in the Woods, Zombieland, and Get Out dominate the box office, win awards, and draw in moviegoers who normally wouldn't give the genre a second thought. Not only that, but this resurgence in interest in horror has caused a bunch of people to go check out horror movies from a bygone era, causing a cult following for some long-gone hits. Even though this is a big win for fans of slashers, zomcoms, and body horror, it does create a problem. There have been so many popular horror films recently, a number of gems have gotten lost in the shuffle. So if you're desperate to find a great new horror flick but you feel like you've seen everything, you're in luck. On this list we have lesser known horror films that are incredible, innovative, and above all, terrifying. I'm Jess from What Culture, and here are great horror movies nobody ever talks about. Unsane. If you know anything about Unsane, it's probably that it's that horror movie that was shot entirely on an iPhone, and while that's true, it's a little sad that that has become the legacy of this film that is actually totally worth a watch. This psychological drama has a lot going for it. First off, the idea of a woman being involuntarily committed to a psychiatric ward is a petrifying concept. Even though Oscar-winning director Steven Soderbergh is not the draw he once was, Unsane proves that he hasn't lost one iota of talent, drenching every frame with quivering suspense. The cast, which includes Juno Temple, Jay Farrow, and Joshua Leonard, who you may remember from the Blair Witch Project, are all on top form. Our lead, Claire Foy, is endlessly engrossing and is able to deliver even the clunkiest dialogue flawlessly. Even though Unsane feels like it's setting the viewers up for a twist you can see coming a mile away, it goes in a direction you don't expect, proving it's anything but predictable. The way Unsane is filmed can come across as a needless stunt on occasion, but there's still enough here to warrant a watch. Don't Listen. Don't Listen centers around a couple that have moved into a new house with their son Eric, and while Eric is playing around with his walkie-talkie, he hears a mysterious voice on the other end. At first, his parents assumed Eric had an overactive imagination, but over time, they suspect their home isn't as welcoming as they once thought. When it comes to heightening scares in horror films, it's imperative to build up tension slowly and carefully. However, Don't Listen doesn't bother with that. 5 minutes in, it hits you with such a shocking death, you'll be finding yourself utterly invested to the very end. Also, if you're expecting this one to follow on with the creepy kid sees ghosts trope, you'll be pleasantly surprised, as this one does go in a direction you don't see coming. Another reason why Don't Listen stands out is because it does something that's virtually unheard of nowadays. It's one of the only modern horror flicks that has pretty much no CGI. Even when computer-generated effects are used, they're indistinguishable to the human eye. Because you're never distracted by dodgy special effects, viewers will find themselves utterly enraptured by the story. The Tingler. In The Tingler, a doctor discovers that every single human has a parasite attached to their spinal cord. Yep, gotta love horror movies. Although the creature grows in size when the host is scared, it's weakened if it hears a scream. Evolution has compelled humans to cry out when they're afraid, preventing tinglers from breaking free. So when one of these tinglers gets released from its host, all hell breaks loose. To sell the movie, director William Castle encouraged movie theaters to have vibration devices under the seats that shocked viewers, compelling them to scream. Castle also hired actors to go to the cinema and scream at specific intervals while watching the movie, to encourage the rest of the audience to join in. Even though this is a creative idea to market the film, it of course sort of fell flat once people went to watch the movie at home, and as a result, it sort of lost its appeal. This is a shame, since The Tingler is a genuinely solid thriller, even without its imaginative gimmick. As always, lead Vincent Price grounds the preposterous premise in reality with his sincere performance. The Tingler's design may be simple, but it's still unnerving to look at. If you're a fan of Alien or The Fly, you should check out The Tingler, since it's one of the earliest examples of body horror in film. His House. His House focuses on two refugees, Bol and Rial, who flee South Sudan hoping to find a new home in Britain. Now you might be thinking, that doesn't sound like a horror movie at all, and that's true. In fact, the first 15 minutes of His House feel like a straight drama. Although this decision could be quite jarring, it works in the story's favor. Director Remy Weeks put such a focus on the lead's survivor's guilt, you forget you're watching a haunted house film. You get so lost in Bol and Real's struggles, you feel blindsided when things start going bump in the night. Another huge part of why this one is so great is that every actor, no matter how small their role, absolutely kills it. Matt Smith has a minor role but shines every moment he's on screen. The terror conveyed by the phenomenal leads is so palpable, it helps you forgive the ropey CGI. Although Bol and Real are plagued by haunting visions, that's not the scariest part. There's a revelation near the climax that's so harrowing, it's sure to curdle your blood more than the paranormal elements. The voices. Before Ryan Reynolds was a Hollywood movie star, he played the lead role in The Voices, a horror comedy revolving around a schizophrenic who chops off women's heads and convinces himself he's dating them. Due to Ryan Reynolds' involvement and the absolutely bonkers plot, this one seems like it would have been a slam dunk if it was released today. Unfortunately, the Deadpool actor wasn't the box office Viagra he is today, which is why barely anyone noticed the release of this surreal feature, despite its positive reception. Although most horror comedies like Zombieland or Shaun of the Dead lean more into the laughs, The Voices definitely highlights the scares a lot more. Even though Reynolds is witty, charming, and likable, this makes it all the more horrifying when he acknowledges the heinous acts he's committed. Reynolds is as funny as you'd expect, but The Voices is also one of the few vehicles that really showcases the Canadian actor's dramatic chops. Also, Reynolds provides the voice of a cat in a Scottish accent, so if that's not a good enough reason for you to check this one out, I don't know what is. American Mary. If you watch too much horror, you can easily become desensitized to, well, the horror. After you've seen umpteenth stabbings, decapitations, and dismemberments, even the grisliest gore will fail to get your pulse racing. So if you're scouting for a really uncomfortable watch, look no further than American Mary. The story revolves around a surgical student called Mary who finds herself in debt, forced to perform extreme body modification on clients. But as her new job seeps into her real life more and more, she worries it will inevitably consume her. Even though American Mary has an intriguing premise, it could lose focus if it put too much emphasis on gore. Don't get us wrong, the gore is gross. Nobody's ready for a scene where a woman gets her vulva sewn shut. But thankfully, American Mary transcends schlocky horror by being, above all else, a character study. Catherine Isabel fits the lead role so well, it's no surprise the directors wrote the character with her in mind. If you don't mind sleeping with the lights on for a couple of nights, American Mary is absolutely worth checking out. The Skeleton Key.
Are you the creative type? Then you already know lots of cool things Photoshop can do, like create eye-popping images for social and gorgeous graphics for t-shirts and posters. But did you also know it can instantly turn a gray sky into a fiery sunset, change black and white to color in a click, or make anything in your photo magically disappear? Maybe you're wondering, can anyone use Photoshop to take images from ordinary to amazing? Nope, everyone can. Visit Photoshop.com and get started for free.
In The Skeleton Key, hospice worker Caroline is hired by a woman to care for her husband Ben, who's recently suffered a stroke. When Caroline notices strange occurrences in the house, Ben's wife assures her nothing is out of the ordinary. But when Caroline discovers a secret room in the attic, she worries it contains a dark and horrible secret. On the surface, The Skeleton Key feels like a hodgepodge of horror stereotypes. It's got voodoo, mysterious rooms, paranormal forces, and a silent character who may know more than he's letting on. Although all of these tropes have been done to death, the way they melt together in The Skeleton Key really forms an original and compelling horror experience. It may seem sacrilegious to relegate John Hurt to a non-speaking role, but the visionary performer is so talented that he conveys everything he needs to with his facial expressions alone. The Skeleton Key may come across as a tad formulaic for the most part, but it pulls the rug out from under you in the third act, leaving you sideswiped from a genuinely upsetting twist. Run. Run opens with a mother called Diane, played by Sarah Paulson, in hospital being told that her newborn has a series of severe physical ailments. We then cut to 17 years, where Diane's wheelchair-bound daughter Chloe is doing all she can to live her life despite her illnesses. Despite the fact Chloe has been accepted to various colleges, Diane won't let her leave. Although Chloe feels like a prisoner in her house, she believes her mother is just being overprotective. But over time, Chloe suspects her mother is keeping something from her. When Run premiered on Hulu back in 2020, it instantly became the most watched original feature on the platform. Sadly, it seemed the whole world forgot about it almost overnight. This is bizarre considering Run is among the most heart-gripping psychological dramas in recent years. Also, this might be Sarah Paulson's best work to date, which is saying a lot. Paulson put so much effort into making her character understanding and sympathetic, you can momentarily forget what a monster she is. Even if horror isn't your cup of tea, Run is still worth watching, since the big twist delves into a bizarre condition that few people are familiar with. Anyone who hasn't heard of this concept will find Run fascinating and utterly terrifying. Under the Shadow. Under the Shadow is a fascinating movie taking place during the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. Our story centers around a mother called Shideh and her daughter. After her husband is drafted, Shideh is forced to care for her child in their dilapidated apartment block while the city is constantly bombed. As the war rages on and the building begins to fall apart, it seems like things couldn't get worse. But when she discovers a malevolent jinn has moved into her house, she must take action before it possesses her daughter. At this point, it's impossible not to point out the similarities between Under the Shadow and The Babadook. However, Babak Anvari's feature debut feels more visceral due to its very real setting. Although the film doesn't shy away from the atrocities that occurred in this historic conflict, Anvari never loses focus of the mother-child dynamic. Rather than being conventionally scary, the looming threat of the jinn fills every scene with a relentless haunting atmosphere. On top of that, the special effects used for the entity, however minimal, are deeply effective. Never in the history of cinema has a floating bedsheet been this terrifying. Even though Under the Shadow was universally lauded, it made a pittance at the box office. Luckily, it was recently bought by Netflix, allowing Under the Shadow to find the audience it should have received upon its original release.
Underwater. Underwater begins with a deep-sea facility being struck by a cataclysmic earthquake. As water bursts in through every seam, marine engineer Nora sprints through the flooding corridors looking for a way out. Once the aquatic life starts attacking the survivors though, things become far more nerve-wracking. The entire cast here is exemplary, with Kristen Stewart as the one who shines brightest. You can see the wheels turning in her head in each scene as Nora attempts to find solutions to her party's mounting problems. Even though the sea critters are dangerous, Underwater emphasizes a more imposing threat that few sci-fi films acknowledge, that being pressure. Since the crew are in the Mariana Trench, they must contend with the crushing weight of the literal ocean. If a diver suit or a room isn't depressurized correctly, the team can implode in an instant. Although science fiction often ignores the science part, acknowledging the dangers of pressure adds a gargantuan obstacle to the group, compounding the tension. Beyond the Black Rainbow. This 2010 avant-garde thriller follows a psychic named Elena who's been imprisoned for years in a secluded institute. Beyond the Black Rainbow juggles a myriad of complex ideas including transcendence, new age beliefs, and social control. And since these concepts are vaguely explored, a lot of people may be left saying, don't really get it. Because of the minimal dialogue and exposition, viewers would assume this psychotropic head spinner would rely on visual storytelling. And although Beyond the Black Rainbow contains tons of striking imagery, that doesn't really help convey the plot. Instead, the eerie images convey a feeling. They elicit a great sense of fear and paranoia, keeping viewers fully invested, whether or not they understand what the hell is going on or not. The atmospheric synth-based score also deserves some special mention, since it effortlessly enhances the animosity and unease that's lurking in every scene. Beyond the Black Rainbow may be bewildering, disturbing, and occasionally indecipherable, but it's sure to satiate any horror enthusiast. Color Out of Space. Despite H.P. Lovecraft's talent as a science fiction guru, the film industry has had immense difficulty adapting his work. Having said that, 2019's Color Out of Space absolutely nails it, perfectly invoking the cosmic horror which the Chitolo creator is renowned for. When an interdimensional meteorite crashes near the house of Nathan Gardner, he and his family try to understand where it came from. Later on, a sentient light called The Color bursts from the otherworldly rock, altering everything it comes into contact with, physically and mentally. For the longest time, Color Out of Space focuses more on sci-fi tropes, which might test the patience of horror loyalists. But when the scares kick off, you'll find yourself paralyzed by fear, especially during that attic sequence. Rather than relying on the dark to build tension though, Color Out of Space uses, as the title suggests, color. Although pink is rarely associated with dread, the most unsettling scenes here are bombarded with this vibrant hue, giving the movie a beautifully unique aesthetic. Sphere. This adaptation of Michael Crichton's classic novel opens with a science team discovering a colossal orb while researching in the Pacific Ocean. After setting up a base nearby, each crew member feels compelled to touch the mysterious sphere. After coming into contact with it, unexplainable phenomena start occurring in the facility with lethal results. Yeah, lethal's never good. Although Sphere has plenty of jump scares, it's the ever-present tension that stands out here. When the facility is attacked by a giant squid or the scientists inexplicably teleport, it's obvious the Sphere is to blame. Because the gargantuan globule's capabilities are revealed, until the third act though, viewers are left to figure out what's going on. Even though Sphere could have been a schlocky B-movie, it's elevated by the solid performances and sizzling chemistry of Dustin Hoffman, Sharon Stone, and of course the great Samuel L. Jackson. Like most of Crichton's stories, Sphere is a thought-provoking, cautionary tale emphasizing how humanity's thirst for knowledge and tampering with the unknown has dire consequences. Pandorum. While reflecting on the millennium's most underrated sci-fi movies, Pandorum often springs to mind. Upon its release, Christian Alvart's space thrill made little impression at the box office or with critics, despite being, quite good. Taking place on an intergalactic arc, crew members Bauer and Peyton awaken from hyperspace and do all they can to ensure the vessel reaches its destination. Soon after, they learn their spacecraft is infested with hostile monsters of unknown origins. After Bauer discovers other crew members have woken up, he realizes nothing on the ship is as it seems. Although Pandorum starts off as a generic alien feature, it has plenty of tricks up its sleeve. Not only is it imaginatively haunting and action-packed, the film is full of jaw-dropping surprises too. Despite having franchise potential though, Pandorum's underwhelming box office return sadly killed any chance of a sequel, which is a massive, massive shame. The Endless. Although the science fiction elements aren't incorporated into The Endless for almost an hour, the film sucks viewers in immediately with its original and compelling premise. Former cult members and siblings Aaron and Justin Smith decide to return to their religious commune, Camp Arcadia, after failing to adjust to modern society. Even though the group members act welcoming, it isn't long before the Smith brothers start having strange encounters involving suicide, secret messages, time loops, and an entity beyond human comprehension. One of the key aspects that makes The Endless work is the atmosphere here. There's a bad vibe the moment Justin and Aaron set foot in Camp Arcadia, despite the pleasantries they receive. Most of the bonkers stuff occurs off-screen, allowing viewers to draw their own conclusions to what's going on. Despite the minuscule budget, the filmmakers devised special effects that put some Hollywood blockbusters to shame here. There are so many things to analyze about The Endless, meaning this trippy feature can be watched a dozen times and be interpreted a different way every time. And because The Endless is a loose sequel to the horror flick Resolution, it's recommended to watch that first to fully appreciate the saga as a whole. Bad taste. Long before his Lord of the Rings trilogy, Peter Jackson worked on Alien Splatterfest Bad Taste. Now, it's quite apparent this horror comedy isn't meant to be taken too seriously. After all, it's about bloated creatures from space trying to turn humans into fast food. And even though Bad Taste is supposed to be done in, well, bad taste, the effort put into this project is staggering. Despite its low budget and limited resources, every frame oozes with enthusiasm and care. It's a clear demonstration of Jackson's knack for turning the greatest limitations into opportunities for creativity and innovation. Bad Taste is a blast from start to finish. Every scene is filmed with a barrage of slapstick comedy, hilariously over-the-top violence, and frankly stupidly daft one-liners. Despite its silly nature, there are still plenty of moments as gag-inducing as Saw or The Exorcist. Anyone who doesn't wince while watching Derek stepping on his own brain, or the gang gargling alien puke, is clearly made of stone. Even though Bad Taste received a bit of recognition after The Lord of the Rings became a global phenomenon, it still deserves more praise. Come on, go and see it. The Void. In The Void, Sheriff Carter tries to protect the occupants of an understaffed hospital while it's being invaded by cult members. After a dark power infects the building, nurses and patients begin losing their minds, killing one another or mutating into hellish creatures. Although most creature features love to show off the big scary monster, The Void focuses on fleshing out its ensemble and creating a conflict of interest between them. With everyone arguing about what to do or how to deal with the threat, the tension never wavers. And because of this, viewers are more invested in these characters, making it scarier when they're attacked or possessed by these abominable beasts. Despite an almost non-existent budget, these special effects here are stellar, especially the prosthetics used to bring the nightmare-fueled critters to life. However, the most chilling aspect of The Void is the concept of the unknown. Rather than bogging the story down with convoluted lore, little is explained about the cult, the monsters, or the meaning behind the recurring triangle symbol. Although The Void has a deluge of squeamish imagery, it's the unexpected aspects that are sure to cause many restless nights. A triangle. In Triangle, Jess and her friends are on a sailing trip when their yacht is suddenly capsized during a storm. The group jump on a passing ship believing they've been rescued, but to their surprise, the vessel is completely empty. Well, apart from that one masked maniac who intends to kill them all. Triangle is one of those films where it's best to go in relatively blind. At first, horror fans should have an idea where the plot is going, to the point where it feels formulaic and predictable. But once we reach the halfway point, abrupt subplots and character arcs are thrown in that are guaranteed to sideswipe anyone. Without giving too much away, there is far more going on in Triangle than can be picked up on during the first watch. As the mystery unfolds, viewers will realize they misconstrued earlier scenes, causing them to then reevaluate the narrative and character motivations. But just as you think you've got a handle on things, another bombshell is dropped, forcing you to reassess that previous reassessment. Confusing stuff, but entertaining stuff nonetheless. Coherence. Coherence opens with 8 friends gathering for a dinner party to witness a passing comet. When the celestial body appears, the power goes out in the entire neighborhood, save for one house. To the group's disbelief, this house is an exact replica of the house they're residing in. Stranger still, it's occupied by their doubles. Despite the nutty premise, the presentation of Coherence couldn't be simpler. There are no elaborate set pieces or special effects, and the violence and gore is minimal. Instead, the film focuses on the ensemble trying to understand something unfathomable. Because Coherence doesn't rely on sci-fi or horror tropes, the scenario appears more authentic and therefore more frightening. As the night wears on, paranoia sets in, causing the friends to turn on each other. Some of them become convinced there is a doppelganger among them, while others believe the whole situation is a mass hallucination. And just as they start piecing everything together, something else happens that makes everything 10 times more confusing. Coherence may well seem like an impossible nut to crack, but its psychedelic premise and mercurial group dynamic will leave you both mesmerized and pretty darn terrified.
Cry Wolf. A parlor game going terribly wrong is always a great foundation for a horror film. Just look at entries like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies or Ready or Not. However, Cry Wolf doesn't seem to be remembered by a lot of people, despite being a great take on the game going terribly wrong storyline. Mysterious murders occur when a group of students at a prep school plays a game called Cry Wolf. Is the game somehow related to the piling bodies? While some parts of its story do feel derivative, Cry Wolf is so well made that the derivative parts are easy to forgive. Co-writer and director Jeff Wadlow treats you with a thrilling and suspenseful time that'll have you on the edge of your seat, invested until the very end. There are some great twists here, and no horror fan can resist a twisty story, especially one with sharp plotting and fantastic performances from its ensemble cast. Dripping in style and atmosphere, Cry Wolf is 90 minutes of excitement, energy, and pure fun. If you enjoy your horror cinematic experiences with plenty of twists and turns and an unsettling mood, this is one you'll howl for. Disturbing behaviour. Disturbing behaviour is right. This movie is disturbing in all the best ways possible. This sadly only made $17.5 million against a $15 million budget and doesn't seem to have found a second life after its theatrical release either. What a shame though, because this is one of the best teen horrors from the 90s. This 1998 picture stars recognisable names James Marsden and Katie Holmes and was directed by David Nutter, who was a director and producer on The X-Files, and follows the story of Steve Clark, who's new in the town of Cradle Bay. Steve quickly realises there's something strange going on with his high school classmates. They're a little too perfect, almost like there's something he's not supposed to know going on within their clique. Wacky, odd, and above all addictive, Disturbing Behaviour feels like a full-length X-Files episode in all the best ways possible. This is the kind of horror flick you play over and over again with your friends because it's just so much fun. This is an entertaining gem with an ending that feels like the cherry on top of a tasty cake. Stage fright. Musical horror? Sign us up right away. Following a young singer targeted by a killer at a musical theatre camp, Stage Fright takes the crazy idea of turning Friday the 13th into a musical and runs with it. But the end result is a wickedly fun time. This is a project clearly made by people passionate about musical theatre and slasher offerings, and that passion shows all the way through the runtime. While it may not be for everyone, Stage Fright represents a uniqueness not often seen in teen horror movies, or even just horror movies in general, and it's this uniqueness that makes it worth your time. It's a wonder why this feature hasn't found a cult following yet, because it is every bit deserving of one. This 2014 film, not to be confused with the 1987 slasher of the same name, is a joyous romp filled with clever tunes and plenty of gore. There's so much fun to be had here, and the screenplay doesn't hold back with its campiness, fully embracing its silly nature. If you love both musicals and slashers, Stage Fright should be right up your alley, and you'll want to rewatch it over and over again. Detention. Detention begins a fairly standard plot. A group of high schoolers get targeted by a serial killer. But it's director Joseph Kahn's energy and style that makes the experience all the more memorable. A wild ride from start to finish, Detention is messy, wild, and unconventional in all the best ways possible. Plus, it stars Josh Hutcherson, who you might remember from the big screen Hunger Games adaptations. While Detention may start off with a fairly standard plot, it only gets wilder and wilder the more it goes on. We can't say too much because we don't want to spoil you, and this is one of those viewings where you're better off going in knowing as little as possible. Sure, it can be alienating for those who aren't on board with its off-the-wall nature, but for the right audience, Detention is an experience you won't soon forget. There's a sincere dedication here to creating a fun and energetic experience, and that passion shows, marking the feature as one of the most notable teen horror offerings from the 2010s. All cheerleaders die. A high school outsider named Maddie shocks the student body by joining the cheerleading squad, but things get even crazier when something supernatural happens to the cheerleaders after a confrontation with the football team. Twisted and dark, this teen horror comedy is infectious fun, boasting razor-sharp writing and astute performances from its cast. There's so much to like about this should-be cult favourite. It's hilarious, smart, and anything but predictable, keeping you guessing at every turn. It's impossible to be bored by this movie. Even if the craziness isn't for you, you still can't deny how much energy is put into just 90 minutes. If you like your horror cinematic experiences to be short but smart, crazy but cunningly clever, dark but delightfully so, All Cheerleaders Die is perfect for you. It's also something you have to see to really believe. None of the descriptions or trailers do the film justice in how highly enjoyable it is. With its ending, it's unfortunate the movie never got any sequels, because this would have made for such an addictive franchise. The Blackcoat's Daughter. You may recognise writer-director Oz Perkins from the Netflix offering I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House, but The Blackcoat's Daughter is his strong directorial debut that he's yet to outdo. The slow burn storytelling approach is an approach many horror writers and directors take, but few get it right. Oz Perkins is one of them. The movie takes its time setting up its pieces, but does so in an unsettling and atmospheric way. Set during the dead of winter, two young girls, Kat and Rose, spend winter break at their prestigious prep school. Kat, however, is being stalked by an evil entity, one that's beyond what either girl can imagine. Cold and bleak, this is a flick more concerned with creating a tale that gets under your skin than one with cheap jump scares, and the story just keeps getting creepier and creepier until it becomes hard to view even. Still, a horror offering that's hard to watch is a horror offering that can't be forgotten. The Blackcoat's Daughter is so well made, so clever and chilling, it's bound to stick with you long after you've finished it. You'll be staring at the end credits with an overwhelming sense of awe. Freaky. While a modest success, Freaky deserved to be a much bigger hit than it was. The concept alone is genius. A teenage girl switches bodies with a serial killer. I mean, how much fun is that? It's an odd idea to mix Friday the 13th with Freaky Friday, but the oddest idea most often results in the most fun experience, and Freaky is one of the most enjoyable times you can have with a screen offering. The feature is bolstered by an incredibly game cast led by both Catherine Newton and Vince Vaughn, who both kill it as their characters before and after the body swap. This horror comedy is just so hilarious at times, especially with both Newton and Vaughn clearly having the time of their lives filming this. Freaky was also directed and written by Christopher Landon, whom you might recognise as the director of Happy Death Day, another genius teen horror comedy. Freaky should have been just as big a hit as Happy Death Day, but sadly it was unable to generate the same buzz. However, the two flicks together make for a fantastic double feature. Pyewacket. When a teenage girl obsessed with black magic performs an occult ritual in the woods, she accidentally awakens something that shouldn't have been awakened. Both a coming-of-age drama and a supernatural horror, Pyewacket succeeds thanks to its intelligent screenplay and esteemed performances from its cast. The film works as both an unnerving atmospheric horror as well as an honest representation of being a teenager. Much like The Blackcoat's Daughter, Pyewacket is a slow burn done right, much more interested in building tension and creepiness all throughout rather than relying on gotcha scares. It really is a gripping experience, and writer-director Adam McDonald succeeds monumentally at having the story hold on to you and never letting go. This is a feature designed to leave an impression. It may be a little too subtle for some, but for viewers who appreciate a great deal of restraint in their horror watches, Pyewacket is guaranteed to become one of their favourites. It's a masterclass in taking a simple premise and making something unforgettable out of it through skillful writing and directing. Ginger Snaps. Directed by John Fawcett, Ginger Snaps follows the story of two teenage girls who have their sisterhood tested when one of them gets bitten by an unknown animal and then slowly starts to transform into a werewolf. Smart and funny, this excels remarkably well as both a supernatural horror and a feminist coming-of-age tale, all bolstered by strong performances from its cast. It's a real head-scratcher why this one hasn't gotten as big a cult following as features like Jennifer's Body and Heathers. It's easily one of the best werewolf movies ever made. Not that the competition is heavy, but Ginger Snaps is so cleverly made it pretty much marks itself as one of the ultimate werewolf titles, much like An American Werewolf in London. At least it should have, but this 2000 film seems to have been largely forgotten since its release. It never seems to get the mentions it deserves when talking about the best teen horrors or the best horror comedies of all time. Ginger Snaps should definitely be on your watch list because its biting satire and sharp writing shouldn't be missed.
Number 55, Curtis Eccleston. In February 2011, an Air Force technical agent named Curtis Eccleston was killed by an unknown attacker inside his own home. Eccleston's friend and fellow serviceman visited his apartment in Okinawa, Japan, after failing to hear from him for an extended period. The friend was able to enter after finding that the front door was unlocked. However, he had not anticipated walking into a horror scene. The police were called, and along with them, NCIS became involved. According to several officers that visited the crime scene, it was one of the most gruesome scenes they had seen in their careers. It was obvious that whoever was responsible for this attack did so with hate and aggression. After assessing the crime scene, investigators sought possible witnesses and broadened their search for evidence. As is common in murder and disappearance cases, the first person questioned was Eccleston's spouse, his wife, Barbara. Apparently, her friends and family also had a hard time trying to contact her the day of his death. There were concerns that she was potentially home at the time of the attack and had been kidnapped or her body had been dumped elsewhere by the murderer. She was difficult to track down, but investigators finally got in contact with her and told her what had happened to her husband. While investigators were busy with Barbara, Eccleston's remains were sent in for an autopsy. The medical examiner was able to piece together what most likely happened to the victim. It appeared as though he was attacked in the kitchen by a killer wielding a large knife. Eventually, he was overcome and fell to the ground. However, the brutal attack did not stop there. When investigators relayed all of this to Barbara, she showed no signs of surprise or confusion. Eccleston and Barbara were on the verge of divorce after she was caught having an affair. When questioned, Barbara stated that she was concerned Eccleston had been murdered because he had been involved in drug trafficking. Large sums of cash and baggies of assorted drugs were hidden throughout the house, she claimed. Investigators followed up on such reports but found no traces of those items in their home. There was also no other evidence, witnesses, or even rumors to back up what the widow was reporting. Though Barbara seemed a likely suspect, there was simply not enough evidence to take her to trial, and the murder of Eccleston remains officially unsolved. Number 54, The Springfield 3. 19-year-old Suzanne Streeter and 18-year-old Stacy McCall's graduation day from Kickapoo High School in Springfield, Missouri, was filled with anticipation and excitement as they eagerly planned to celebrate their milestone achievement together. The two blonde best friends had big plans for the night. They were planning to attend multiple graduation parties with classmates. The following day, they were set to embark on a thrilling adventure to a water park, joined by a group of friends and fellow graduates. However, fate had something different in mind for Suzanne and Stacy. As the evening went on, the duo made their way to their friend Janelle Kirby's house, where further celebrations were happening. They were originally planning to stay the night there, but around 2 a.m., the girls realized that Janelle didn't really have the room for them and decided to return to Suzanne's house to sleep before they all reunited the next day. The next morning, when Suzanne and Stacy failed to show up at Janelle's house for a ride to the water park, concern quickly set in. Janelle and her boyfriend drove over to the house Suzanne shared with her mother, 47-year-old Cheryl Levitt. But as they arrived, an eerie scene awaited them. They quickly noticed that the front porch light was broken, with shattered glass scattered across the porch. Curiously, only the globe encasing the bulb was damaged, leaving the bulb itself intact. Janelle's boyfriend Mike swept up the glass, thinking nothing more of it. It was only after the fact that investigators realized that this kind gesture may have, in fact, destroyed important evidence. In front of the house, they noticed the cars of all three women parked, but something caught their attention. Suzanne's car, which she usually parked in the same spot every day, was pulled up elsewhere. This raised questions. Had someone else been parked there when Suzanne and Stacy arrived, preventing Suzanne from parking in her usual space? Inside the house, a strange and unsettling emptiness greeted them. The front door stood unlocked, yet Suzanne, Stacy, and Cheryl were nowhere to be found. All they saw were the women's purses and Cheryl's dog Cinnamon, who seemed agitated. Janelle assumed they had just missed Suzanne, Stacy, and Cheryl, believing that they had already left for the water park. However, as they were about to leave, an unexpected phone call interrupted the silence. Janelle answered, and the male voice on the other end made lewd remarks before Janelle hung up the phone. The same caller tried again, making innuendos over the line before Janelle once again hung up in disgust. Hoping that the three had already headed out for the water park, Janelle and her boyfriend left, believing that they would reunite with their friends in a few hours and still enjoy the day's activities together. However, when there was no sign of them, Janelle became even more worried. Stacy's mom, Janice, became worried when she had also not heard from her daughter and ended up heading to Suzanne and Cheryl's home to look for her. When she realized her daughter's car was parked out front, she went to the house to investigate. While there, she realized that the clothes her daughter had been wearing the night before were neatly folded in the home. She also saw that there was a new message on the answering machine, and playing it back said that it was a strange message. However, in listening to it, it was inadvertently erased. Investigators do not believe that it was linked to the calls that Janelle had received while she was in the home. McCall's parents contacted police while they were still at Suzanne and Cheryl's home, and an extensive investigation was launched. Search efforts expanded across the area, with divers, police dogs, and the FBI joining the search. Despite the collective efforts and media attention, each promising lead seemed to lead to yet another dead end, leaving investigators and loved ones in a state of frustrating uncertainty. Amidst the frenzy of media coverage, the case captured the hearts of the public, with daily updates broadcast in the days following their disappearance. The community yearned for a resolution, for any clue that could unravel the mystery surrounding Suzanne Streeter, Stacy McCall, and Cheryl Levitt. Multiple suspects, including Suzanne's ex-boyfriend and a neighbor, were considered but ultimately cleared due to insufficient evidence. A witness's account of a green van with a blonde woman visible inside provided a glimmer of hope, but it too failed to yield concrete results. Years passed, and the case went cold, leaving the once vibrant hopes for resolution dimmed by the passage of time. Even a 2007 tip that prompted ground-penetrating radar scans of a parking garage offered no conclusive breakthrough. Now, more than 3 decades later, the Springfield Three's disappearance remains a haunting enigma, a tragic tale of lives seemingly swallowed by the void. The memories of Suzanne Streeter, Stacy McCall, and Cheryl Levitt endure in the hearts of their loved ones, forever etched in the minds of a community that refuses to forget. The quest for answers continues, with the hope that one day, the truth behind their inexplicable vanishing will finally come to light. The case remains open to this day, and anyone with information into the disappearance of Suzanne, Stacy, and Cheryl can contact the Springfield Police Department at 417-864-1751 or the FBI VICAP at 800-634-4097. Number 53, Karen Denise Wells. Nearly 3 decades ago, in April 1994, a woman named Karen Denise Wells set out on a solo road trip to visit a childhood friend that apparently needed help and support during a trying time in her life. Wells was 24 years old at the time and was a single mother of a 14-month-old son. Her family described her as hardworking and a wonderful mother. Despite setbacks she had faced, she always made sure she had a stable income and that her son was living a healthy and happy life. Apparently, Wells had worked several jobs in which she had to travel long distances. So, when she informed her mother that she was embarking on a road trip from Haskell, Oklahoma to Bergen, New Jersey, there was no doubt that she was ready for the road. Still, a trip that long while traveling alone was understandably a potential cause for concern, so her family requested that she keep in touch as much as she could. Over the years, the details have shifted about Wells' route to her destination. Apparently, she got lost on the highway at one point and pulled off the main road. Although many small towns were easily accessible near the highways, Wells decided to travel a bit further from her original route for reasons unknown. She ended up in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and checked into the Pike Hotel. From there, Wells called the friend she was heading to see around 7 p.m. She informed her friend, Melissa Shepard, that she was exhausted after traveling for about 48 hours with no sleep. All she wanted to do was cruise in her rental car to get some fast food before she would return to her room. Shepard offered to travel the few extra hours to meet Wells. She estimated that she would arrive around midnight. Shortly after this call, Wells visited the front desk for directions to McDonald's. She then left and was never seen again. Around midnight that night, just as she predicted, Shepard arrived at the hotel. She couldn't get Wells to open her hotel room door or answer the phone. She searched the parking lot, and when she didn't see Wells's rental car, she requested that the front desk let her into the room. Once inside, Shepard found that all of Wells's belongings were stacked up in a corner, and the bed had not been even slightly used. She immediately reported Wells as missing, and a search was conducted the next day. Just a few hours into the investigation, someone reported a car abandoned along the highway near the hotel. It turned out to be Wells's vehicle. Both doors were open, and the car was covered in mud and scratches, despite being nowhere near the wilderness or dirt paths. The car had run out of gas. Food was thrown all over the inside, but it's unclear if this had taken place the night of Wells's disappearance. A small amount of marijuana was found on the floorboards, and officers suspected that other drugs may have been used inside the vehicle. Various fingerprints were discovered but could not be matched to anyone. A massive search was opened, but no further evidence was ever found. The search was eventually called off, but the case was left open. Later that same year, around the holidays, the wife of Wells's former boyfriend reported to police that she received a call from Wells, in which she informed her that she moved out of state, got married, and was never returning home. No record of this phone call could be found. Investigators believe it was a false tip used to help the former boyfriend move on and stop grieving. Since then, nothing new has been uncovered in relation to this case, and Wells's whereabouts remain unknown. Number 52, Charles Morgan. The case of Charles Morgan is one of the most mysterious out there. He went missing almost 5 decades ago, and not for the first time. Though his body was eventually found, what happened to him remains a mystery. 39-year-old Charles Curtis Morgan was a businessman in Tucson, Arizona. Known as Chuck to friends, he had his own escrow company and was a proud husband and father to 2 young girls. But Chuck's business life had been going a little off track. He was involved in a land fraud case as a witness to testify against a well-known crime boss. Although he would have rather kept himself out of the mess, he knew he needed to say his piece to help the case progress. On March 22, 1977, Chuck left his house to drop his daughters off at school for the day. His wife waited for him to arrive back home in the evening as usual, but he never showed. Worried, his family contacted the police and they searched for Chuck, thinking he had gone missing. But 3 days later, Chuck found his way home. He only had on one shoe, had plastic handcuffs on his ankle, and his hands were tied with a zip tie. Chuck couldn't speak, but he wrote down to his wife that he was kidnapped, and he wrote that inside his throat was a hallucinogenic drug, and he would die if he swallowed. Then he asked his wife to move his car out of sight from the street so they would not know he had returned home, but who they were remained a mystery to her. Chuck told his wife she would not call the police, and for the next week, she had to nurse him back to health. When his voice returned, Chuck told his wife about an apparent secret identity. According to him, he was a federal agent and claimed he had escaped from his kidnappers somewhere close to Phoenix's Sky Harbor Airport. After returning to normal health, Chuck was extremely paranoid. He wore a bulletproof vest, grew a beard to hide his face, and never let his daughters walk to or from school on their own. On June 7th, Chuck disappeared again, this time for longer. For days and weeks, no one heard from him, and his family kept hoping he would turn up like the first time, but he never did. Chuck's father did come forward to say his son told him he wrote a letter that was only to be opened if he was ever kidnapped again, outlining who was behind it. But at the time of his final disappearance, the letter could not be located. 9 days after his disappearance, an unidentified woman called Chuck's wife and said, "Chuck is all right," Ecclesiastes 12:1-8, which referenced to the Bible passage that reads, "Men are afraid of a high place and of terrors on the road." Only 2 days after disappearing, Chuck was found shot and killed, still wearing his bulletproof vest. He was found 30 feet into the desert, just off the highway. The gun had no fingerprints, but there was gunshot residue on his left hand. In his car was a note in his handwriting outlining the location of the scene, weapons, ammunition, and one of his own teeth wrapped in a handkerchief. There was also a pair of sunglasses that his wife claimed were not his. Strangely, there was also a $2 note clipped to his underwear, and written on it were 7 Spanish names and Ecclesiastes 12, another series of Bible verses. 2 days after his death, a woman called the Pima County Sheriff's Department, claiming she had been to meet him at a motel shortly before he died, and also claimed to be the woman who called Chuck's wife days earlier. According to this woman, Chuck let her see a briefcase of money days before his death and said this was going to get him out of a contract with the gang. Despite the paranoia displayed by Chuck and all the odd events taking place in his life before his death, there is still no conclusion about how Chuck died, or even whether his death was or the work of another. Number 51. The Hornet Spook Light. In 1936, reports began to flood into local law enforcement and media publications of a strange light being that had been sighted near the border between Missouri and Oklahoma. These occurrences took place a few miles west of Hornet, Missouri. Therefore, the light was named the Hornet Spook Light, or more simply, the Spook Light. The 1936 sightings were the first officially recorded reports of the sightings, but the history might date back as far as the 1830s. Back then, reports of the flash were shared by word of mouth, warning wanderers to stay away from the light. Some versions of those stories reported that 2 young Native American men were walking along what is now a wooded path when they were hunted down and attacked, and it is their ghosts or spirits that can be seen casting the mysterious light. However, these early stories cannot be confirmed. In the early 1940s, just a few years after the first documented reports, residents of the area and surrounding towns began to advocate that local and federal government agencies provide more funding and resources towards studying the light. This was because sightings were experienced in other areas of town, including near hiking trails and over farmlands. Residents were worried that the strange light might be dangerous, and even evidence of supernatural or extraterrestrial presence. Finally, after countless letters, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers visited the town and planned out an investigation. Despite months of work, the professionals failed to come any closer to solving the mystery and providing answers. The spook light is described as a large ball or orb that hovers above the tree lines, moving very slowly. The light has most commonly been described as yellow, red, and orange, but there are a handful of accounts in which witnesses describe the light as a bright green or deep blue. Another intriguing detail about the light is that, according to some, you must remain completely silent while waiting to see the show, because apparently excessive noise of any kind will scare off the spectacle. Most reports are similar in detail, which some say disproves the assumption that people are just imagining the mysterious lights. However, most skeptics believe that the spook light is actually the reflection of distant car headlights. Number 50. Jessica Chambers. To this day, 9 years after a young woman was killed, her family is still holding out hope that justice will be served. Jessica Chambers from Cortland, Mississippi was only 19 years old when her life was stolen from her. It's hard enough to lose a loved one at all, but knowing the details of Chambers' suffering in her last hours of life was more than enough to shatter the hearts of those that knew and loved her. Chambers had a history of drug use, and around the age of 17, she began spending time with gang members. She met her then boyfriend, who was about 10 years older than her, hanging out with this crowd. That same year, her brother lost his life in a car accident, which caused her to spiral more deeply into self-destructive behaviors. As far as her loved ones knew, she was clean off the drugs, and at the time of her disappearance, her boyfriend was also serving a prison sentence when she disappeared. At the age of 19, the former cheerleader and social butterfly was in recovery, working an honest job, and trying to build towards her future. Although her family was against the idea, she still hung out with friends from her drug use days, and she remained committed to her boyfriend, patiently awaiting his release from prison. Because of the crowd Chambers spent her time with, she often met questionable people. After her death, investigators started to build a timeline of Chambers' whereabouts throughout the day before her disappearance and death. In an official statement, Chambers' mother shared that on Saturday, December 6, 2014, her daughter woke up earlier than usual to meet friends for a day of fun. She was gone for several hours, and when she came home, she seemed stressed and tired, according to her mother. Chambers headed directly to her room where she laid down for a nap. She was apparently woken up by a call from her friends that evening at 5 p.m., after which she headed out without telling her mom her plans. This behavior was not unusual for Chambers, and considering the fact she was a legal adult, her mom felt she couldn't do much about it. CCTV was later found that showed Chambers at a gas station. It seemed that she was alone at this time, but it's difficult to confirm because the camera angle made it impossible to see whether or not someone was in the car with her. It was later revealed, thanks to Chambers' cell phone's GPS data, that she arrived back in Cortland around 6 p.m. At that time, she called her mom to say she would be home soon. She seemed to be uncomfortable and uninterested in talking very much, though. Some time passed as Chambers' mother awaited the arrival of her daughter. Sadly, the young girl never made it home. Around 8 p.m., police were called to the scene where a car had run off the road and was engulfed in flames. The driver, Chambers, had managed to escape the vehicle, but she was badly burnt and had collapsed to the ground. In her last words, she said something that officers said sounded like Eric or Derek, but because of the extent of her injuries, it was very hard to distinguish her words. Though this was initially seen as vital evidence in whatever had taken place that night, nothing ever came of it. Chambers passed after arriving at the hospital. Autopsy reports and crime scene evidence showed that the victim had been attacked and gasoline had been in her throat and sprayed all over her car before it was set ablaze. Investigators eventually found, through her cell phone, that the victim had most recently been in contact with a drug dealer named Quentin Tellis. In fact, GPS data showed they had been at the same location for a long period of time the night Chambers died. This man was brought in as a suspect and was charged with causing the woman's death during 2 different trials. However, a lack of evidence and destroyed cell phone data caused both attempts to be ruled as a mistrial. Quentin was freed from the spotlight as the suspect, but Chambers' family still believes he was responsible for the attack against their loved one and still hold out hope that justice may one day be served. Number 49, the murder of Eliza Sherman. Eliza Sin was born in Cleveland, Ohio, to parents who emigrated to America after fleeing the Holocaust in Europe. She grew into a caring and beautiful young woman, connected to her family's Jewish faith, and fueled by a desire to help others, began attending nursing school. While studying there, she met Sanford Sherman and quickly fell in love. However, things were not perfect for long. After starting a family, Sanford began to show a different side of his personality. He was mean and controlling and had extramarital affairs. In 2011, Eliza decided to divorce Sanford to seek a better life for her and her children. The divorce process was difficult, and she faced financial and legal challenges. Eliza hired a prominent attorney, Joe Stafford from Stafford & Stafford Law Firm, on the recommendation of a close friend who'd had him handle his own divorce case. Known for handling high-profile divorce cases, the firm's reputation appealed to Eliza, who believed it would provide an advantage in her situation. Shortly after receiving the divorce papers from Eliza, Sanford retaliated by filing a complaint against her. Throughout this, he continued to pressure Eliza to attend counseling and give their marriage another shot, but she stood firm. Eliza confided in her lawyer, expressing her belief that Sanford's attempts were merely manipulative tactics and that he would not change his controlling and abusive behavior. Both Eliza and Sanford were reluctant to leave their shared home, fearing that it could be viewed as abandonment in court proceedings. As a result, Eliza moved into a downstairs bedroom, attempting to create some space between them. Feeling increasingly unsafe, Eliza began documenting her concerns in emails sent to herself. In one chilling message from January 2012, she expressed genuine fear, writing, "I'm really afraid he is going to have me killed." Despite friends offering her a safe haven in their homes until the situation was resolved, Eliza declined their offers. Instead, she took other precautions to ensure her safety, installing a deadbolt on her bedroom door to lock it at night. Things took another turn in March 2012 when Joe Stafford's law license was suspended for a year due to his actions during another case. As a result, Eliza's case was transferred to Gregory Moore, a senior associate in the firm, to move forward with the divorce proceedings. On March 26, 2013, Eliza planned to meet Gregory at the Stafford & Stafford offices. She messaged her daughter Jennifer to inform her of her plans. However, Jennifer was engrossed in a long study session and had silenced her phone, causing her to miss the message for hours. Before heading to Moore's office, Eliza also contacted her childhood friend Jan Lash to let her know about the meeting. Jan offered to accompany Eliza, but she declined, expressing her confidence that she could handle the meeting on her own. Arriving at her lawyer's office at 55 Airy View Plaza around 5:30 p.m., Eliza carried a box of requested documents. To her dismay, she found the building door locked. Frustrated, she texted Moore and waited downstairs for him to let her in. Moore assured her he would be down soon. Eliza sent Moore another message after a short while, this time citing the cold and her decision to wait in her car. Moore replied and said he would be there soon, but their scheduled meeting never came. A few minutes after the messages were exchanged, Eliza was viciously attacked by an unidentified assailant who sneaked up behind her and stabbed her 11 times, 8 times in the back, twice in the neck, and once in the arm. Despite the man's desperate efforts to aid her, Eliza's strength waned, and she eventually lay down on the sidewalk. Paramedics, alerted by the 911 call, arrived promptly, but tragically, Eliza was pronounced dead at Metro Health Medical Center at 6:14 p.m. The police immediately launched a thorough investigation to find her killer. The first crucial piece of evidence was CCTV footage captured near the crime scene. The footage showed a hooded man with a noticeable limp running away from the area shortly after the attack. This individual was wearing jeans and a green jacket. Despite releasing the CCTV footage to the public and conducting extensive interviews, no significant leads emerged in the initial stages of the investigation. The police faced the daunting task of connecting the dots between Eliza's troubled marriage, the messy divorce proceedings, and the motive behind her murder. During the investigation process, Eliza's lawyer, Gregory Moore, came under suspicion due to his behavior and involvement in the case. Eliza had voiced her concerns about Moore being rude, indifferent, and often late for crucial meetings and filings related to her case. The attorney-client relationship was fraught with tension, and Eliza's lack of trust in Moore became evident. However, despite the suspicions surrounding Moore, forensic analysis of his phone placed him nowhere near the crime scene at the time of the attack. The police had to look elsewhere for potential suspects. Another key figure in the investigation was Sanford Sherman, Eliza's estranged husband. The police discovered a web of complex financial transactions and concealed finances related to their divorce. Over $1 million had been transferred from their joint accounts to Sanford's private accounts, raising eyebrows about his financial motives. Disturbingly, Eliza had emailed herself expressing fear that Sanford might have her killed. These emails provided insight into the troubled dynamics of their relationship and the dangers she felt she was facing. Additionally, Sanford's alleged involvement in illicit affairs and strip clubs raised concerns about his character and potential motives for wanting Eliza dead. His embezzlement of money from Eliza's accounts further incriminated him in the eyes of her family. Perhaps the most compelling piece of evidence was their daughter Jennifer Sherman's deposition against her father. Jennifer accused Sanford of embezzling around $2 million from her mother's accounts. A forensic accountant's investigation revealed that Sanford used the embezzled money for various expenses, including strip clubs and gifts and dates for his affair partners. The police developed a theory that Sanford might have paid off Gregory Moore to set a trap for Eliza. With a critical court hearing related to their divorce scheduled just 2 days before her murder, Sanford might have been deeply concerned about potential losses in the proceedings or worried that his embezzlement might come to light. Despite mounting evidence against Sanford, a judge ruled that there was no concrete evidence indicating he was guilty of the crime, preventing the police from bringing criminal charges against him for Eliza's murder. To this day, the case remains unresolved, leaving Jennifer and her family devastated and without the closure they sought. Anyone with information about Eliza's murder can call Crime Stoppers of Cuyahoga County at 216-252-7463. Number 48, Dorothy Arnold. A well-known debutante in the late 19th century, Dorothy Arnold went missing on a typical afternoon stroll in the bustling city of New York, with no witnesses around to bring her mystery a close. Dorothy Arnold was born on July 1, 1885 in New York City. She was a socialite and heiress to a very wealthy family. The second child of 4, her father was a perfume importer by the name of Francis Rose Arnold, and her mother was Mary Martha Parks Arnold. All of her siblings grew up to marry wealthy or work in the import business, leading them to more money than they knew what to do with. Dorothy studied at the Velton School for Girls and then Bryn Mawr College in Pennsylvania, where she studied literature. After graduating in 1905, Dorothy lived at the family home on 79th Street and attempted a career as a writer. In the spring of 1910, Dorothy submitted a piece to McClure's magazine, but it was rejected, and her friends and family often teased her about this, finding her aspirations amusing. Many of her future submissions were also rejected, and according to her friends, she was increasingly embarrassed about the lack of success. On the morning of December 12, 1910, Dorothy said to her mother she was off to buy a dress for her sister's upcoming debutante party. Her mother offered to go with her, but Dorothy was insistent on going alone. She left the family home around 11 a.m. with about $25 in cash on her and walked to the Park and Tilford store on the corner of 5th Avenue and 59th Street. Around noon, Dorothy purchased about a half pound of chocolate, putting this on her account with the store, and then walked 22 blocks to Brentano's bookstore. Here she purchased a book and conversed with the clerk. None of the store employees she interacted with that day recall anything unusual about her behavior. Outside the store, Dorothy ran into a friend named Gladys King, who remembers Dorothy being in good spirits at the time. Dorothy told Gladys she was going to walk home through Central Park and took off in that direction at around 2 p.m. By the early evening, Dorothy's family was expecting her to return home for dinner, but she didn't show. She never missed meals with her family, and they were worried when she didn't arrive. They called her friends, but no one had seen her. Just after midnight, one of Dorothy's friends called the house to see if she had returned, to which her mother said she had, but that Dorothy had already gone to bed with a bad headache. Fearing that their daughter's disappearance would cause a stir in the media, the family hid it, refusing to even report it to the police. They wanted to keep it out of the press in case Dorothy chose to return home in the coming days. Dorothy's family searched her room and found all of her belongings in place, aside from what she had taken to go shopping for the dress. Eventually, the family hired a private investigator who searched nearby hospitals, jails, and even marriage records, but found no sign of where Dorothy had gone. The private detective convinced the family to notify the police, and so they did. On January 25, 1911, Dorothy's father held a press conference wherein he informed the public of his missing daughter and asked for their assistance. During the investigation, reporters found out Dorothy had lied to her family before, telling them on occasion she was going out of town, but was actually spending time with a man named George Griscom, but he denied knowing anything about her whereabouts. There were some speculated sightings since her disappearance, and even one letter which showed up at the police station allegedly signed Dorothy that read, "I am safe." However, Dorothy's family never believed she really sent this letter. There is still no answer to what happened to Dorothy on her way home that day, or if she even intended to go home. Number 47, the Black Flash of Provincetown. The tight-knit small town of Provincetown, Massachusetts was terrorized by an entity in late 1939. The supposed monster that found its way into the headlines for several months had a number of dramatic names. It was referred to variously as the Provincetown Phantom and the Devil of the Dunes. However, its most commonly used title was the Black Flash, which referenced its dark appearance and reported super speed. A group of children walking through their neighborhood one dark night were the first witnesses to cross paths with the Black Flash. The entity jumped out onto the sidewalk from a bushy area, far from streetlights. The children immediately ran home after their encounter, filled with fear and confusion. According to the group, the creature produced a screeching sound similar to a banshee. It went on to chase after them, but only for a few short seconds. They recollected that a maniacal, bestial laugh echoed from the monster. When the children were questioned by their parents, they all had the same exact story with identical details. While children are known to have wild imaginations, it would be difficult for them to have all made the same report with identical details if there hadn't been some truth to their story. The children's description of the creature's appearance was truly haunting. According to their description, it had 2 glowing silver eyes, but no other details were visible in its face. The rest of its body was pitch black as well. It was humanoid but abnormally tall, and had long, thin arms that hung below its knees. The young witnesses also stated that it exhibited an unbelievable superhuman speed. One child said that it was probably faster than a car. After this initial incident, reports of the Black Flash continued from one end of town to another. Most of these reports came from children. Some shared that the creature jumped out and chased them, like the first group reported. Others stated that they witnessed the Black Flash rummaging through garbage, standing along the side of empty dirt roads at night, or even attacking small animals. Eventually, reports started to pop up from adults as well. One woman, Marie Costa, recalled her experience with the entity from a few days after the first children made their statements. According to her story, she was walking near the town hall one night after a day of errands when she passed an area of bushes near the entrance to a dark alley. The Black Flash lunged out of hiding and tried to grab Marie while screeching and growling. She was able to escape his grasp and ran to a late-night cafe. While employees of the cafe comforted Marie, a group of men gathered to hunt down the Black Flash. However, their search proved fruitless. The allegedly supernatural being was never captured. Over time, sightings began to decrease and fear settled down, but horror stories about the Phantom continued to be passed down for generations and remain a part of Provincetown's memory to this day. Number 46, Malin Ortiz. 10 years ago, a young 15-year-old girl mysteriously vanished from her hometown in Calvia, Spain. Malin Ortiz was described as a very bright and outgoing young lady. Friends and family said that everywhere she went, she made new friends. She was also a talented skateboarder and spent a lot of her spare time hanging with friends at a skate park in her neighborhood. It came to light during the investigation into her disappearance that Ortiz didn't have a very healthy family system. She lived with her father and brother in a small home and allegedly had some conflicts with her father. It was reported that they argued often. A few years before she disappeared, her father found her in bed with a boy her age. Hospital records showed that around that same time, Ortiz was admitted for care after being badly. Although there was no follow-up to this incident, staff found it obvious that the young girl's father was at fault for the abuse. Ortiz was also reportedly experimenting with drugs around this time. Her father had a criminal history and was at one point sentenced to 6 years in prison for attacking his ex-girlfriend. Ortiz's parents had divorced when she was young and she did not have regular contact with her mother. Ortiz and her brother were allegedly forced to live on the streets for a short period of time before they were welcomed into their father's home. After her disappearance, investigators began to question if Ortiz had vanished of her own free will to get away from her bad situation. On the day of her disappearance, December 2, 2013, Ortiz finished up a regular day of school and caught a bus to head home. She realized on the way there that she had misplaced her house key. She decided to take a different route and go to her boyfriend's house, who lived in another small town just a few miles away. After exiting her last bus, she made several phone calls to her father to let him know where she was going. She wasn't able to get a hold of him and left a message at his office. She then called her boyfriend and asked if she could come over, which he agreed to. He later told police that was the last time he spoke to her. CCTV footage found that Ortiz stopped at a gas station. Oddly enough, about 20 minutes after her visit, her brother was also seen on CCTV at the same store. Their paths never crossed, though. Witnesses eventually reported seeing the girl riding her skateboard near the busy street in the direction of a theme park. This was the last time she was ever seen. Ortiz's boyfriend Daniel was the first person to raise the alarm about her disappearance when she never arrived at his house. However, it took investigators 48 hours to begin looking for Ortiz. They initially believed that her disappearance was the simple case of a runaway teenager. The search team contacted everyone that Ortiz was close to, but no one had seen or heard from her. They also searched the small town, the town surrounding it, nearby wilderness and park areas, public spaces, and even the sea, but found absolutely no trace of Ortiz. Her father offered an $80,000 reward for her return, but the case still went cold, and the search was eventually called off. In early 2023, a tip came in that led investigators to a potential suspect. Jose Ruiz was 74 years old when Ortiz vanished. It was discovered that months prior to her disappearance, Ruiz was found trying to lure 2 teenage girls into his home under the guise of wanting to photograph girls on skateboards. The girls fled when a woman approached and interrupted the conversation. Later, inappropriate pictures of minors were found on his old home computer, but there are no records of him ever being charged. Shortly before his death, he was staying in a mental health facility. Staff members at the hospital reported that Ruiz claimed to know what happened to Ortiz, but he passed before the truth could come out. His home was searched, but no evidence was found that pointed towards Ortiz's disappearance. To this day, the young girl's whereabouts and eventual fate are still unknown. Number 45, the disappearance of Sarah Benford. Born in 1986, Sarah Benford was never afforded much of a head start in life. Growing up in a troubled household in Kettering, England, Sarah grew up with her mother Vicky Benford, stepfather Gavin, and her siblings Josh and Anya. She began skipping school at just 5 years old, drawing the attention of social services from a young age. Her challenges only intensified as she entered her teenage years, and she began to engage in drug use and would frequently run away from home. Social services intervened for her own safety and made efforts to place her into care homes, though she regularly absconded from these as well. On April 6, 2000, after a heated argument with her mother, 14-year-old Sarah disappeared without a trace. She made a distressing call to her mother, admitting to using heroin and refusing to return to Welford House, where she had been staying. Her mother called the police for help, but they declined to respond as Sarah was a chronic runaway. Shortly after that call, Sarah vanished, leaving behind her diaries and personal items, and only leaving with the clothes on her back. The police initiated an investigation, suspecting foul play, but any leads and reported sightings yielded no definitive answers. Sarah's family accused the police of not taking the teen's disappearance as seriously as they should have because of who she and her family were. Hearing their pleas, the media began to advocate for a more thorough investigation, and campaigned tirelessly against the police to treat the case more seriously. This relentless pursuit exposed the gaps in the initial search and emphasized the need to diligently investigate every missing persons case, even in cases of potential runaways and substance users. Over the years, different police departments got involved, resulting in 8 arrests in connection with the case. However, no charges have ever been filed in relation to Sarah's disappearance. In November 2021, nearly 2 decades after Sarah was last seen, a new tip led Northamptonshire Police to conduct an extensive excavation in the Valley Walk area near the River Eyes. The tip suggested that Sarah's body might be buried there. With experts, dogs, flyovers, and surveys, they hoped to uncover the truth and bring closure to her family. Unfortunately, the search yielded no remains or further evidence, leaving the mystery unsolved and her family still searching for answers. As of March 2023, no further leads or suspects have emerged in the case. Detective Superintendent Joe Banfield, who oversaw the investigation, spoke about the recent spate of activity in the case, saying, "The dig in the Valley Walk area of Kettering, which was conducted at the end of 2021, was in response to credible information that Sarah may have been buried at that location. Unfortunately, she was not found. Sarah went missing more than 22 years ago now, but we will never give up trying to find her body and potentially tracing her killer or killers." If you're watching this and believe you have information relating to the disappearance of Sarah, please call 101 or Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800-555-111. Sarah, if by any chance you are watching this, we urge you to call missing people on 116-000, who can offer confidential advice and support. Number 44, Cynthia Anderson. A case that has stunned investigators since the day it began. Cynthia Anderson's case revolves around a secret admirer and possible stalker. Though there have been a few leads since the day she disappeared, investigators have not been able to solve her case. Cynthia Anderson was a legal secretary living in Toledo, Ohio. She was described as quiet and friendly, and was planning on quitting her job in about 2 weeks to attend Bible college alongside her boyfriend. The 20-year-old was looking forward to entering a new phase in her life, but in the weeks before her disappearance, she seemed haunted. Cindy ultimately disappeared on August 4th, 1981, but her ordeal began long before that. About a year before, someone graffitied the building across from her office in large letters declaring, "I love you, Cindy," by GW. She mentioned this incident to a few friends, but ultimately shrugged it off as a possible coincidence. Perhaps someone else was named Cindy. Besides, she didn't know anyone with the initials GW. A few weeks later, writing returned, even more visible than before. Not long after this, an unknown caller started calling her office number to harass her. The office had to lock the door at all times, even during business hours, and an emergency buzzer was put in her desk in case she ever needed it. One day, while sitting with a client in the office, a phone call came in that Cindy answered. According to the client, Cindy listened for only a brief moment and then hung up, turning white as a ghost. The phone rang again, and she quickly hung it up as well. When the client asked if she was okay, as she was clearly distraught, she told them she was fine. However, the client was so disturbed by how shaken Cindy had appeared that he called the police later that day to request a welfare check on her. On August 4th, 1981, Cindy arrived at work as usual at 8:30 a.m. She was usually alone in the early morning hours. Around noon, when the lawyers arrived, Cindy was nowhere to be seen. The door was locked from the inside, but Cindy wasn't there. The office reeked like nail polish remover and all the phones were on hold. Her book was open on her desk, and one colleague observed that the story had been opened to the one violent scene in the novel, about a woman being abducted at gunpoint. Cindy's co-workers were immediately worried and alerted the police, though there were no signs of struggle, and her car was still parked in its space in the lot. Cindy's purse and keys were missing. The police noticed that no calls had been connected after 10 a.m., so they suspected that this would have been about the time she disappeared. They had no leads to go on, but put out alerts through the media and requested that anyone with information about the young woman reach out and let investigators know what they knew. Shortly after Cindy disappeared, police did receive a call. In hushed tones, a woman on the other end of the line requested to remain anonymous. She said that Cindy was alive and was being held in the basement of a white house, but the line went dead before investigators could ask questions or the woman could provide any additional information. Police investigated, but that lead ultimately went nowhere. Cindy had no known enemies, and no one had any apparent reason to hurt her. Her bank accounts have never been touched, nor her identity used. The man who wrote on the wall outside her office stepped forward to clear his name months after. claiming his message was for another Cynthia. If you have any information about Cindy's whereabouts, please contact the Toledo Police Department at 419-255-8443. Number 43, the Kentucky Meat Shower. On March 3, 1876, ranchers and farmers in Rankin, Kentucky were waking up in preparation for a day like any other. As spring was approaching, the weather was clear and sunny. There were no threats of storms on their way, so citizens of the countryside weren't expecting rain to interrupt their work that day. Strangely enough, though, there did come a downpour between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. It only lasted a few minutes as residents hurried to their porches to avoid what was raining down. The sky was still clear and devoid of heavy clouds, but that's not what made this event so puzzling. Instead of rainwater falling from the sky, chunks of meat were plummeting to the ground all over the countryside. Although this may sound hard to believe, it actually did happen. There were many witnesses from the area that came forward after the storm to report on their version of events and help investigators determine the cause of the mysterious storm. A woman known only as Mrs. Crouch and her husband were amongst the first witnesses to report what they experienced. Mrs. Crouch explained that she was working on her porch when the storm began. According to her, a strong gust of wind blew over the area, and a few seconds later, chunks of meat began to slam to the ground. The couple provided researchers with samples of the meat from their property. They also shared that they believed the incident was a sign from God and perhaps a prediction of the end times. This is just one of countless theories that have been brought up over the last century and a half regarding the strange storm. After conducting more interviews and thoroughly searching the area, investigators found that the meat covered over 100 yards of land, with meat thrown across fields, along fences, and even on house roofs. 2 men from town visited residents in the area to obtain samples of the meat, which they cooked for a taste test. It was originally assumed that the meat was something like beef, but these cooks argued that the flavor and texture of the meat was more reminiscent of deer or mutton. The story of the Great Kentucky Meat Shower was picked up by the media and made the headlines for several months following the event. As the story's popularity grew, so did the number of theories surrounding it. One scientist named Leopold Brandeis speculated that the meat wasn't actually meat at all. Instead, he suggested that the material was more likely nostoc, which is a type of bacteria that swells into a heavy, goopy substance when wet. It didn't take long for this theory to be shot down. Author and researcher Charles Fort made the simple observation that there was no rain on that day to wet the substance. A sample of the meat was sent to a medical examiner, Dr. Alan McLean Hamilton. His study showed that portions of the meat were confirmed to be lung tissue from either a horse or a human baby. This was shocking, of course, but since the original source could never be confirmed, it lived on as just another theory. To this day, the explanation of the Kentucky Meat Shower is completely unknown. Number 42. Houston John Doe. This story follows the case of a John Doe from Houston, Texas, who was discovered in an abandoned bus. Although every case involving a death is tragic in its own way, it remains a particularly sad thought to know that someone might be out